And now, let's dive into episode 1 of Why Is That So? One day, while his mother was cleaning the storeroom, Nobita accidentally discovered his old childhood teddy bear. After admiring it for a while, Doraemon remarked, "I don't think this bear is pretty at all." Nobita replied, "It's not pretty, but my grandma made it." Holding the teddy bear, Nobita confided in Doraemon about his precious memories with his grandma. He decided to use the time machine to go back and meet her one more time. While with his grandma, Nobita asked her a question that I bet every child has asked their parents or grandparents at least once. "Grandma, do you love Nobita?" His grandma smiled and replied, "Of course I do, that goes without saying. Always, forever." Grandma just wants to be by his side, loving and caring for that boy forever. But unfortunately, I don't have the ability to do that because I am old now. Hundreds of stories from children of yesteryear, reading them again now, I see the clouds, the sky, the sea, the mountains. How many times have I asked my grandma, "Do you love me?" And every time, the child in me was delighted to hear the answer it wanted. Yes, grandma loves you the most. It wasn't that the child doubted or felt unloved. I still don't truly understand why children often ask such questions. Perhaps back then we were too young to feel love through the actions of adults, so we wanted verbal confirmation that this love existed to feel more secure. Or perhaps it was because, in our innocent minds, we believed love should be expressed in words, it had to be shown, it had to be said, for it to truly be love. We would hum the little song, "Grandma, oh grandma, I love you so much. Your hair is white, white like the clouds." For little ones, love needed a sound. But later, we realized that love can also be silent, needing no verbal confirmation. The elderly are perhaps the ones who feel the flow of time most acutely. A day is no longer just confined to the long and short hands and the numbers on that wooden-faced clock hanging on the 3-foot-high wall. For grandparents, time flows through their minds. They understand the final period at the end of their lives more clearly than anyone. Once the child had to solve a math problem. "This year I am 5 and my grandma is 70. How old will I and my grandma be in 20 years? The child found the correct answer, then excitedly ran to show grandma, but laughed wryly and said, "In 20 years, grandma will be in her grave." What does "in her grave" mean? It means death. What is death? It means grandma will no longer be here. But where will grandma go? She will go to a far-off place. Who knows where it is, only that it is very far away, and you won't see grandma anymore. Why, who will I call grandma then? By then, you will be a grandma yourself. The child clearly didn't understand what grandma was saying. A vague sadness stirred in its heart, like a tiny stream beginning to ripple. Scent and taste are the roots of memory. If asked what scents evoke memories for me, the answer would definitely be grandma's scent. The smell of damp earth, the scent of the low-lying countryside, the aroma of sweat mixed with strong betel nut and sticky locust. Curled up in grandma's lap, breathing deep, it was the scent emanating from her hair and body that would lull the child to sleep without even realizing it. The child was so accustomed to grandma's presence that it couldn't sleep without her by its side. Grandma's childhood was a time of war, bombs falling and bullets flying, a life of endless carrying, fleeing, poverty, and hunger. But the child's own childhood was soothed by grandma with fragrant persimmons and the kind-hearted Tam, by meals of salted fish, roasted sesame, and overflowing bowls of rice. Grandma told the child about the famine of 1945, about emaciated figures shivering by haystacks, and ox carts carrying gaunt people who had collapsed from lack of rice. She would drill warnings into the child's head. "Eat all your rice. Rice is precious jade. Every grain you drop will turn into a chicken or a duck later, so scoop it clean, scoop every last wasted grain of flying rice." When is later? It's strange, children filter information. Their ears don't grasp the main points adults make. They pick out the obscure, peripheral issues and twist them, replying, "Later is when you die." Oh, death again. Grandma spoke a lot about death. She had endured suffering and didn't want the child she loved to suffer, but she also didn't forget to teach it how to love and cherish the memories passed down by ancestors. Thinking about when all of grandma's contemporaries pass away, who will tell the little ones the stories of once upon a time. Nowadays, grandma often calls me the cupboard. Kai too, who knows what the cupboard means? It doesn't even exist in modern Vietnamese or even Sino-Vietnamese. At least the name Tio, for that boy Tio, made sense. I used to hate that name. It sounded so rustic, meaningless, absurd. If Grandma called me that name, I would stubbornly refuse to answer until she called me by my real name. Much later, I understood that in that village, children were the most fragile. The elders feared that evil spirits would snatch away these weak children, so they would give them an ugly, feeding name. Because spirits, wandering the land looking for beautiful, healthy children, would see those with horrible, ugly names being called for dinner. The spirits would feel pity and pass by that house, sparing that child. So, to love something was to give it a truly pathetic name, hoping it wouldn't be touched, and thus, it would survive. It turns out even ugliness can be brimming with such love. Time passed. My grandma is no longer lucid. She doesn't even remember things clearly. The elderly are prone to forgetting and being forgotten. Every day, 3,000 human cells die. Entering the final quarter of life, after countless years, billions of old cells are replaced by others. But when people are no longer young, they become easily sad and hurt when their children and grandchildren are not close by. My grandma no longer tells stories. She sits in silence. The elderly often sit in silence. The older people get, the less they talk. They think more. Children, on the other hand, can't sit still for hours. The elderly live by memories, while the growing youngsters constantly worry about the future. Generations separated by 50 seasons of daylilies can hardly stay together for more than an hour. The elderly don't watch TV, don't use phones, have no hobbies or entertainment. They just sit, their gaze directed far, far away into some indefinite void. I wonder if Grandma feels lonely. This question will probably never be answered. I know the time left for my grandma and me isn't much. Every time I go back to the countryside, I spend time sitting next to her, because when I look at her, she will again gaze into some empty space out there. When I was little, I was like a chirping chick, singing to Grandma, patiently reading Buddhist scriptures for her to ponder. But now, the two of us just sit silently together, remembering Grandma's words from years ago. When Grandma is gone, who will you call Grandma? By then, you will be Grandma yourself. Perhaps I am slowly becoming Grandma now. In Nabaita's memory story about his grandma, which I mentioned at the beginning, Nabaita's grandma told him that she wanted to live until he started primary school and wanted to see him begin first grade, carrying his school bag like all other children. That would make her very content. It turns out the wishes of the elderly are that simple. But I don't know what my grandma's wishes are, so I often whisper to her, "Grandma, please stay very healthy to wait for me to get married." Grandma waved her ear because my whisper bothered her. Then I asked again, "Grandma, do you love me?" She ignored those sounds again. The child in me began to insist, saying, "Do you love me, Grandma?" And then Grandma said, in a forced way. I am still the same, still wanting to hear words of love, and Grandma is still the same, still loving her child as much as she did back then. The sunlight streams warmly onto the porch, illuminating Grandma's wrinkled, aged face, her purplish lips, her steady breathing. It's still the scent of sweat, dry beetle and dandruffy hair, but still fragrant with locust. Suddenly, I realized that all the warmth and beauty in this world are dissolving into ordinary moments that we don't bother to pay attention to. Abandoned children will have grandparents who love them. But when the elderly are abandoned, they only have loneliness, just wandering aimlessly around the corners of their home, waiting for the day they leave this world. Children first understand death when they touch the person they love. So, if you still can, go home to visit your grandparents and parents. Spend a little more time with the people you love so very much. Grandma, I love you so much. Do you love me? Yes, Grandma loves me most in the world, no matter who, at this goodbye moment.